Good morning, Brian Newman, Fire Behavior Analyst with Incident Management Team 3. I'm going to give you your daily update for the expected fire behavior over the fire today. So starting over in the Janesville area, we continue to see some activity, especially on the flanks as it gets over the escarpment to the southwest. That's been a real challenge for the crews out there, and we expect today with the given wind conditions that are coming on the fire to continue to challenge some of the lines in those areas. The fuel conditions are so very dry across the fire, but especially over here, we've got a real mix of fuel, of the timber, sage, and grass, and so the fire has the ability to make some good runs in there, unfortunately, but the crews have made some good progress on some of those indirect lines, so they are out there working in those areas. The wind, as it comes over this escarpment, is usually very erratic, and so it leads to some erratic fire behavior as well. So that's going to be a real challenge and a concern for us today is in that southeast corner in the Janesville area. Overall, the lines are there in much of the area, and then there's still some fire activity off to the southwest, but with those winds today, it's going to be pushing back in on itself in the main part of the fire, but we're just really concerned about the flanks there, both north and south of that, trying to get around those control lines. Coming out and towards Susanville, the fire activity that made the push down in towards the town of Susanville itself, down the Susan River, it is looking very good. There's very minimal heat in there. Our IR flight last night is just showing a couple small hot spots in there, and we briefed the crews on that today, and I do not expect the fire activity in there to get up and challenge any of the control lines. But moving to the other side of Hamilton Mountain, there is quite a bit of heat in there, and they are working in that today. We expect with the given winds coming across the fire today that it will give it some fresh air, allow the fire to stand up, get up in, make a smoke column, and potentially start to make some small intense runs. The big goal is to prevent it from crossing Highway 36 to the north. And so we briefed them today on the ability for the fire to get up and move, potentially spot, and cause a little bit of activity and potentially challenge the control lines there. So that's an area of concern for us today. Coming north of Westwood onto the 821 road and out in that direction, all of our interior heat is well inside of the control lines. The wind will come across this and we'll test the lines today, but we do not expect the fire to challenge the lines today. Coming north to the Silver Lake area, out towards the National Park area, there is still quite a bit of heat out here, a lot of energy left in the fire, and a lot of it's interior, but it also is threatening the lines in places out there, especially today with the given winds. But as we see across this upper elevations area up here, we expect the smoke to thin more here, and on this fire, anytime the smoke thins, it allows the fire activity to pick up. And so we expect the fire activity to pick up in this northern part up here. There is a good plan in place for dealing with that, but this is where you're going to see the most amount of smoke columns today is in the northern part of the fire as the wind starts to surface up there and starts to thin that smoke. So coming into the park itself, again, a lot of activity in there, a lot of heat, and a lot of potential for the fire to get up, stand up, and make some runs. It is primarily sheltered by some topography. There's real rugged terrain up there, so it will shelter that slightly, but it only takes a little bit of wind to thin out that smoke and allow some of that activity to increase. So we do expect that today across the northern part, the Reading Peak, out towards Butte Lake area. Coming further down the Park Highway, not a lot of heat signatures left in there. Crews have done a really good job addressing those, and so I don't expect any challenges to the line in that area. Coming down towards Mill Creek, that wind, the shift that we started seeing yesterday, started helping that fire being pushed back in on itself on the Mill Creek Plateau, and I expect that today the only challenges we're going to see there, specifically on the part that crossed the highway, is some of the flanks there are going to continue to see some activity, but they're not going to challenge the control lines that are in place there. Will just help consume the fuels that are left burning in there. But coming across the north side of Highway 36 there, in towards the county line, Feather River Meadows area, there is a bit of activity in there. It is in a pocket of some unburned, and so we do expect to see some activity in that area as well as the wind comes into there, starts to thin the smoke, and starts to make a little bit of a push in that area. There is quite a bit of control lines in there. There's quite a bit of crews assigned to there today, but we do expect to see some activity in that area just due to that steep topography, the critically dry fuels, and that smoke thinning out in that area. Coming across over towards Chester and what we call our lake branch, all of this area around the lake is looking really good. Very little heat signatures in there. No expected fire activity besides some smoldering ground fuel, some stumps burning out. Nothing that's going to control or could challenge any of the control lines or cause any major issues. And that can be said as we get all the way down in here towards the origin of the fire. Everything's looking really good. No heat signatures. Nothing that's going to cause any concerns about any threats to the control lines. The last place I want to address is over here on Dyer Mountain. We did have a little spot fire there yesterday. As that wind comes across there today, we expect that it has that potential to increase some of the activity. But again, this is well within our control lines. And at this given point, given how many control lines we have in there, the amount of crews that are in there, and the amount of activity left in there, I do not expect any threats to the control lines and any movement towards Westwood. Thank you very much.